That a horse.
Horse, yeah.
Horse to his besties. Come on then, Horsey. This is your gaff, or part of your gaff. It's to inspire us.
Hey, well, it's certainly not my gaff, but it's the community. It's the best community pub in Britain, which is, and we've got one of the best licensees in Britain.
Probably globally.
Mickey's the man who's running this pub, but actually, what keeps it going, what was the inspiration for it in the first place, for me, was that link between education and community, which I think is sorely lacking. It feels a bit like school and communities are these two separate things, and good schools or good education needs the community, because if a school is there to prepare you for future life, it's got to be able to plug you into a community, because future life without that is difficult. And so, yeah, my sort of driving force behind getting this all started was that our post-16 kids having a place where they could suddenly feel part of something, feel a sense of belonging that was more than just a school, not a school with big fences around it and keypad entry, and a school where you can open your doors and speak to the elders of the community, the workers, the hobbyists, the craftists, anybody who's coming in has got a passion for something that can imbue that passion onto some of our pupils. That was the purpose, as well as learning skills, hospitality skills that have got so many other sort of fringe benefits.
Because yours wasn't a traditional school, was it? In that sense, it was. I mean, it's not traditional. I mean, what I mean is the kids that you teach are the kids that really struggle with traditional education.
Absolutely, yeah. And those kids have changed over the years. But yeah, they're not, and it's not even, they're not academic. There are social. You see all these schools, sort of SEMH schools, cropping up all over the place. So SEMH is social, emotional, mental health. And that label is seen as a thing that is a need or a problem with some of those young people, and so they need to go somewhere else for a bit. But if education had a little bit more, so because we all have social, emotional, and mental health, don't we? And if that was higher on the agenda within education, you'd have less kids falling out of it. And less need for, places like us, or alternative provisions, or less homeschooled kids, or less teachers leaving the profession, I'm sure. So I do think education is having a look at itself at the moment. It needs to catch up with not just the modern workplace, but modern kids, because they are plugged into a wide community now that is perhaps taking them away from some of that real life interactions that they can have.
I mean,
with real people.
Some people might say that, the pressure that has been put on teachers with the constant changing of systems, of processing, of measuring, and all that, it does feel on one level that it's a conscious decision by the powers to mess it all up in some way. I mean, is that me being a paranoid nut job? What is that?
I think, go back far enough. Education, you take it to Greek, take it to Pythagoras' school, or Aristotle. All they studied was poetry and music and dance and lyrics, sport, and how to be athletic and curious, and then that philosophy, before science existed as a thing, it was philosophy. It's that curiosity that wondering about life, that education sort of pokes that fire. But then our modern education system, that kind of changed. Like there was a Chinese emperor whose the very first exam was set by a Chinese emperor who was looking for a wider. He was fed up of his sort of sycophantic civil servants. He was like, I'm sure there's some other people out there in the villages who could do this. So he said, right, if they pass this test, they can come and work for me. And so then you're looking at education as a sort of a tool for social mobility, which is a good thing. And then when you come into the 20th century, it became a means of building a workforce. It's a system that it can never benefit everybody. Like with GCSEs, there's no way every single kid in this country could get a level 9. It's not like everyone because it doesn't work like that. They'd have the grade boundaries would just change. It's a system that requires some people not to succeed in order for those to succeed. That's how it feels. Certainly, that's how it feels for the majority of the kids who come to our school. That level 4, you need to get. They understand that in order. Oh,
What is this?
it's the
Pythagoras
Secretary of State
coming
for
through.
Education.
Charlie.
Hello, Bridget.
Hello, mate. I'm mid-video. What do you want? You all right? I will do in a bit, but I'm chatting. Sorry, mate. I'm going to have to go. I'll call you back in 5. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Families.
He's no
Families.
Michael Parkinson. He hasn't got a team around him. It's just me and John.
Just
in
me,
the coach house.
me and him chatting in the way.
That's where we are.
Right then. So
Sorry, I went off on a bit of a thing.
No,
about
it's
it,
all right. No.
But it does, and I do think that.
But do the kids? I mean, it's the important thing is the kids, isn't it? And do the kids look at it and go, the system doesn't value me, and so I don't want to be part of it. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, that's and that's why community. That's why it's such a passion for me and yourself. Like, if you don't feel a sense of belonging in the school that you're in, you might find another community outside. And there are plenty of people, kids in school, who don't really like school, but they've still got a community within it.
Yeah.
And that's why they go to school.
Right.
And they find that.
And they connect, right.
And they'll leave at
pals.
16 and they'll go and they might get to college or go.
They're not allowed to leave at 16 now, are they?
Well,
Is that not illegal?
Not unless you've But that's the thing, and then you put maths and English at the top of this pile, and you look at where dance and music and lyrics and poetry and all that stuff I was talking about before, where they are, and then so kids have this skewed belief of what is important because the education system is saying this is the important thing. But actually now, it's funny. My son's just finished his GCSEs, and he's been fine. I was a bit worried about it. So, are you getting on all right? 'Cause he was working hard, to be fair to him. And then sitting the exams like day after day after day. I said, "Is your head not a bit full?" He went, "No, not really, Dad. It sort of goes in this year. He gets ready for biology or whatever. Then the next day it's maths, and he just empties the biology out. In comes the maths, and then he does the maths, bleh, and then out goes the maths, and in comes the music, and out goes that, and that." And that, to be like, you do, I think, kids do need a challenge. You need some sort of framework of something, a goal to head towards. That method of assessment certainly suits most people, actually. If you're going to do something, there's got to be alternatives. Our system has got to suit our diverse nature of not just kids, people like.
Right. We need that community thing, don't we? That's how the world works. We need to be talking to people in real time, and not necessarily through technology and through other measures. And and all these bloody filters on photographs. I mean, that's creating so much stress, isn't it? It's creating so much stress.
You don't know what's real anymore. But I mean, sat here now with you, John.
Obviously, I don't need any attention or anything like that.
I mean, it looks like you've got a filter on. Maybe it's the warm lights. But that sort of level of authenticity and being able to have the face-to-face interaction, that sense of feeling that you're connected to something. That the longer I've done this, the more I realise that's it. The only common thread between every kid that's ever come through the green room has most likely been that sense of isolation. That sense of rejection from education, or that's it, or whatever that is, and they're just a bit lost. And then you start with kindness. You start there and build trust, build a relationship. Then you poke that curiosity, and then you'll get positive change out of that. And there are 3 values of the green room, and it's not just values. It's like almost becoming like a methodology in order to get someone out of that state of isolation and fear and loneliness.
So that poking of them, when you poke them, what do you use? Do you use a knitting needle, or do you have an oak stick, or what is it? What's your method of choice?
You've just got. It's the comfort zone, isn't it? Our college guys, our GRC, they've just come back from Scarfell Pike.
Right.
And
up north.
Up north, yeah. Standing on the top of England.
Yeah.
And I've been on that trip many times, and unfortunately I don't get to do that much anymore. But looking at those kids, with their hand on the top tree point, and just going, I wouldn't have seen that a year ago. So that's it. You just
right,
and that's not an exam, but it's a thing. And there's various different versions of that. Baking a cake and selling that to somebody on an Epic Thursday. You've seen some that we do quite a lot of art.
Yeah.
Events, community. We're just picking up litter.
You make enough of it, don't you?
but just doing stuff like that, so you take yourself out of yourself and put it into someone else. And I think that, combined with where we are at the Swan, that sort of the diverse nature of people that come here.
Yeah.
I love it. And once you get that energy right, you don't need to do anything because the community will do it themselves. You just need places that the community can
go to.
Yeah,
and they're allowed to go to.
Feel that.
And they're allowed to just sit in the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean, and drink a glass of water. They're not forced to spend £200 on whatever.
Yeah.
Which is the commercial machine is sort of parked. It needs to wipe its nose. Then people need to come in and spend money, but you're more likely to get that good spend on a few great days if you just facilitate the general, just turn up.
Hey, and that's what pubs have always really been, isn't it? But now the pressures are so high, the amount of pubs are still just shutting down.
Yeah.
And it's got worse. When we bought this in 2018, they were falling thick and fast. But the hospitality sector is still struggling, and in order to succeed in that, you've got to go for quality margins, and that's why suddenly you're looking at the £24 dinner and the £8 pint, and just start going. But that's not what the Swan's about.
No, it's great, and we've had a bloody good day here. And thanks a lot for inventing it and creating it and making it happen and putting all that TLC into this and the kids and everything else that you do, mate.
Well, just launch the rocket. Once the rocket's in orbit, it just takes care of itself. Really.
Yeah, it just needs the odd nudge every now and again.
It's got to put a bit of energy.
Bit of petrol in the bottom. Cheers, fella. Well done.
Cheers, John.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for being here today.